what happens when all your dreams come true and you still feel empty? You know? Like everything you ever wanted, you've been working a long time for this. And then it all happens and you're still left sitting there like, well, I'm still not genuinely like at peace and happy with myself. You start to ask yourself, was this really what I was chasing? Or was I chasing the wrong thing? Like, is that really like what my soul was after, or was my soul after something totally different?
It's time for the Garage Boozing Podcast.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of the Garage Boozing Podcast. Today I am joined by one very special guest. To your left, my right if you're watching on YouTube, we have the return of Geno Brancati. Geno, welcome back to the show.
Thank you for having me today, Chase.
Absolutely, my man. I feel like a lot has happened since the last time you were here. We actually just looked it up right when you walked into the garage, and the last time Geno was in the garage was 2 years ago. It was literally August of 2021. The garage didn't look like this. A lot has changed in both our lives. But Geno, let's get started with what's changed in your life. So you're a dad now.
I'm a dad now. Yep, my son turns 10 months in like 2 days.
I'm glad you said that because I was going to ask. I was like, the last time we were on the podcast, did we talk about the fact that you're having a kid? I don't think so. Or did we?
No, it's been that long. It's been 2 years. So,
Oh yeah, there's no way
for 9 months.
Yeah, there's no way we could have.
Biologically impossible, but.
So, dad life. You have a son.
I have a son now. Yep. That took a lot of adjustment to get used to.
For sure.
But is a blessing and is amazing and definitely the most purposeful job that I've ever had.
What's your son's name? Are we allowed to disclose that, or are we?
Sonny Brancati.
I love that, dude. It's
Yeah.
like Sonny and Cher. Do you know Sonny and Cher? No.
I should. Right? I should.
It's like I don't know.
His name's Sonny. I should.
And they're like a duo from like the 70s and 80s. But wow, dude, that's cool. So what's dad life? What's that like? Like, what changes did you have to make in your life?
Compromise. When you're in like a relationship with a woman, you definitely, if you want it to last,
Or a man.
or a man, yeah. Thank you for adding that.
You're
in.
welcome.
Yeah, when you're in a relationship, you have to learn compromise. Really, any kind of relationship, whether it be friendship, intimacy, or with a child, but specifically with a child, there's no more compromise that you could possibly have, and it's forced compromise, which is a totally different kind of compromise. It's like you have no choice but to step up to the plate and do it, which is a great thing because it pushes you to grow. And yeah, that was the biggest thing as like a very like selfish and creative person. I require like a lot of personal space, and a lot of my space is taken up now with that. So that was like the biggest adjustment for me, finding where my time for me and my being fit in with his schedule and work and my relationships outside of it.
So, like, now that he's, like, 10 months old, he's probably got more of a schedule than he did when he was first born. Like, when he's first born, like, you're newly, like, adjusting to this. In the middle of the night, you're hearing, wee, wee, probably, like, crazy, right? What is that like?
Oh, man. I believe honesty is the best policy.
Of course. So it sucked.
No, because I didn't do shit.
It was all her.
Yeah, dude. My wife is,
God bless Abby.
Yeah, she's a saint. I always say she's an angel on earth.
She's good shit.
I don't believe her duty is here for me. I would never say that specifically, but I believe one of her duties was to help me spiritually and physically as a person get on path, because she just continues to do that in life. So
almost to help you evolve as a person.
Exactly. So yeah, she just stepped up like to the plate naturally, and like I would have got up with him, but she also like not that anybody really wants to know, but like breastfed. So I'm not going in there to breastfeed him at 2 a.m.
You're not sticking your titty out.
So naturally, like, she stepped up and did that. But in the beginning, like, I was a little bit more, like, closed off to everything. Like, I didn't feel, like, the instant connection, so to speak, right away. And that's not, like, saying, like, I didn't love my son, but, like...
No, it's different for a mom, dude. You know, like, they carried the thing for 9 months, you know?
Yeah, I only say this because I don't know if there's any like first time dads out there that might listen to it or people that are expecting, but you know, I cut a lot of people's hair and they tell me like, oh, it's gonna change your life, everything's gonna be the most amazing thing in the world. And you know, when he first came out, I felt like an experience like I never had, and obviously like a love for him, but it was more like a protection love instead of like wow, like I love you, I want to hold you, I want to like be around you every second kind of love. Like my love was more like a pack leader, as if like we were like in like a wolf pack or like a pack of like lions. Like I was more like, all right, I need to go to work, I need to make money, I need to make sure my bills are paid, I got to make sure I'm good, I got to make sure me and my wife are taken care of. So my son's set, and I was more like focused on that than like the nurturing side of things, I think. And
Sure.
That shifted, you know, as time's gone on, and now obviously like I feel like I do all of that now, and I feel very much connected to him. But in the beginning, yeah, it was definitely like that was the biggest adjustment.
So what would you say is like your favorite part of being a dad? You're 10 months in being a dad. Well, I guess like plus the 9 months, but like do you consider like the 9 months you being, not really until it pops out, right?
Yeah.
Then, once it pops out, then it hits you.
Yeah, because when you're like in the beginning, when you first find out, I think it can go one of two ways. I think there's like a lot of guys out there that like they're mature enough to where the news just like hits them, and then they just like start stepping up to the table and like doing what they're supposed to do. Where I'm like more this guy who tends to like, instead of like taking the door to go around his problems, likes to like go right through it.
Head first.
Yeah, and I kind of like rebelled in a way. Like I was like, it was weird. It was like almost like a very bipolar type of way of living. I lived my life the last year because, but like pre Sunny being here, like when I found out that she was pregnant and I ended up coming home from Florida, and that was a lot to accept. And then from that aside, like I was like trying to just like grow as a person to be ready for him, but also at the same time like felt like I was partying way too much, going out too much, not focused on the right things, because I was in fear of like, one, I'm not ready for this, and then secondly, I don't think I'm going to be good at this, and I hate having to be in situations that I'm not good at things, because I thrive when I'm good at things. That's what makes me feel purposeful, and I'm afraid like my family's going to outgrow me because I'm too immature for this. So part of me was like, fuck it, and I just kind of like did whatever I could to like feel good and like
Not worry about it?
yeah.
Yeah, I get that.
So
In a way.
So, like, I think the biggest thing, like, that I really take away from it is that it wasn't at all a negative thing. It was, like, a maturing process for me, and I think it's different for each person. For me, I, like, had to shed, like, my ego a lot and start to focus more on, like, my family's purpose and the true meaning of life. I lived my life for a lot of years focusing and chasing after like the wrong things. So
Sure.
it like really put me in a path now where I feel at peace.
So let me ask you this, and if you don't want to answer this, that's okay. I can edit this out. But so obviously, like a lot of people go through the situation where they find out, oh shit, my significant other's pregnant. When that happened, like your initial reaction, were you like, oh fuck, or were you just like, all right, let's do this? Again,
No, and not at all was I like, oh fuck. Not to like, and like I don't think you should edit this out at all, because this is really like kind of part of like the journey leading up to where we're at like right now.
yeah.
So, I mean, I'm not trying to redirect things, but if we want to like rewind 8 months before I found out that my wife was pregnant, was when I was on this show with you. And I got on Barber Versus, which was that show we promoted on here. And it was,
Which you won.
I won. Yeah, I did. I won that show. And man, was that just the biggest blessing and curse that I ever had in my life, to say the least. In multiple ways, as I feel like you're waiting for me to elaborate on that.
Yes.
As you're looking at me. Yeah, I feel like the blessing and curse came from like multiple things. When I came on here the first time, we discussed this before, I was just finally getting my spark back in my industry. I felt like I was working for like 5 years and I was constantly like mad at the industry, like why aren't they noticing me? Why am I not getting, the recognition that I want and achieving things that I want? And then I opened up my shop, and I felt like that was like when I finally started to feel like a leader. And when I got the shop going, when Cole came, we started to create things together. And he's someone that I feel like is like, someone that's in like my soul family in my life.
I love that kid, dude.
Yeah, he's a great guy.
Shout out Cole.
And, that's why I feel like even some of the stuff we touched on, he can relate to earlier in the podcast. But, not to get off track, but yeah, he came along. We started creating things together. We got this wind about it. We started creating this merch. And then I came on here with you, and I could tell, like, felt it, like, inside of me, like, something special is happening. And I said it to my wife. I said, I'm not sure what's happening, but I know something big is going to happen for me. And I was obsessed with it. It's all that I cared about. I threw an event at my barber shop for my friend's mother that had cancer.
Yeah, I remember that.
And that was a huge thing for us. We raised a lot of money, and we put a big smile on her face. And for me, just that day, to see all the people that like showed up and whatnot was huge. And then shortly after, I found out that I was getting on Barber Versus. I came here and saw you, and I was like, man, this must have been what was it. Like the universe is rewarding me. I'm finally getting my shot. So I got on the show, and I ended up winning it. And
your name was all over the place while that was all happening too.
Yeah, I mean, on Instagram, I went from having like 2,500 followers to like close to 9K after the show was over, and that's in a matter of a weekend.
Yeah.
And I mean, I'm not a hip hop artist. I'm not, even like a podcast guy or something. Like, I'm to a very selective group of people, like people who care about cutting hair, and then maybe people who care about fashion. So we're not gonna gain, 100K followers. Any barbers that you see with that online, they're just like.
You have a sick style of fashion, I must say, by the way.
Thank you, bro.
I love what I love about, not to get off topic here, we'll go right back to that, but like I just want to throw it in there. Like what I love about like your fashion sense and stuff is like you don't give a fuck. Like, dude, I love like the sunglasses and shit you wear, just like everything you put together just like rolls.
Well, I try to go against the grain with stuff, I don't like to look the same as everybody else. I feel like that's why I have so many like tattoos and like visible tattoos, etc. Because I don't want to look like everyone else. I want when I go somewhere people to know who I am, because I have a strong belief in the character that like I bring, and I want that to be known, not out of a sense of being egotistic, but just out of a sense of like, hey, this is what he stands for, and
This
like,
is me.
And what I stand for also resembles like what my wife stands for, what my son will stand for, what my dad, my mom, and all the people close to me stand for.
Right. So you were saying that you thought at the time that the Barber Versus thing was like the big thing that was coming.
Yeah. So hold on 1 second. Cole is texting me at the moment.
What up, Cole?
I'm gonna tell him you said what up, and then I'm putting this on silent. So yeah, when I got on Barber Versus, it was like a big blessing and a curse for me in the way that like I started to get all this following and whatnot, and sponsorships started to come in, and I was like feeling like everything was supposed to like change for me, like my dreams were supposed to be here and they were supposed to happen, and I after the show, I gained like that following that was exciting, and then after like 2 weeks, it was like that wore away, and that should have been the first sign to me that possibly what I was going after wasn't the right thing. But to make a long story short, I started to go for like a last ditch effort to make things happen because I felt like after Barber Versus happened, like I won that. Okay, now I'm going to be a celebrity barber. I'm going to be cutting the celebrities' hair. I'm going to be well known by everybody in the industry. I'm going to have these top name sponsorships knocking at my door, and that shit did not happen. So in a way, it like crushed my soul. It was the best opportunity ever. It made me feel like, okay, you belong. You're the shit. You finally got noticed for how good you are, and then you went on there and won it. But then what you thought was going to happen for it and what was promised was going to happen for it didn't happen, and you realized that the industry was much bigger than how talented you are, and a lot of it is about who you know and who you're willing to brown nose, and that's not my character, and it discouraged me in a lot of ways.
So real quick, for those that don't know, what exactly is Barber's Versus?
Barber versus TV was a hair show that it wasn't on like television, but it was streamed online. It was much set up like Ink Masters, like a show where you compete against other people on there and advance to the next round and try and become the Barber versus TV champion. And they had a huge following in barbering. And basically, if you got on the show was for celebrity barbers before, like people who all had big followings and sponsorships, and all the heavy hitters went against each other, so they had to do something different. So they did an unknown competition. They selected 4 people that entered based off talent in the video they entered, and I ended up being one of the people. And then what transpired from me winning the show and getting on it.
So you win the show, and then like 2 weeks later, all the attention kind of dies down a little bit.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
It's kind of like a kick to your soul almost, right? Is that what you're saying? Like,
Yeah, dude, it goes from like you wake up and you like scrolling through your phone. And
notification, bing, bing,
bing,
bing,
bing,
bing,
bing,
bing.
the first 2 weeks, and your ego stroked like crazy, and then like you get up and then it's back to normal, and like
I'm not gonna lie, an ego stroke feels great. It does.
do-
You can't tell me it doesn't. Nobody
Yeah.
can tell me it doesn't. When someone's stroking your ego, you're getting your ego stroked. Like it feels great. So
exactly, and and then it goes back to normal, and I'm just kind of like, oh fuck,
what do I do now?
like was this as good as it gets? And that question like haunted me. I was like, dude, what the fuck? Like, dude, I waited so long for this. Like, I can't wait forever for something like this again. And this is like a once in a lifetime opportunity. I know how rare these opportunities in life are. Will I ever get this again? And that shit bothered the fuck out of me, bro, to the point where like I was driving myself insane. Like, and that's where I told you before I started to not like the art. Like, I was like, all right, well, my content has to be better. And then from there, I was so creatively blocked because I was like so focused on like, is this perfect? Is this better than the last cut? Is this this? Is this that? Is this as good as his? Is this better than my last shit? And I just ate myself up.
And that's where you make yourself go nuts.
Yeah, dude. And I was in that mind frame for a long time. So that's when I decided to just say like fuck it, dude. I can't do it where I'm at. I wanted to blame everything except for myself.
Yep.
Because I'm a perfectionist, and the perfectionist can never be wrong, right?
Yeah.
Once he's wrong, his ego is at a severe, it's at gunpoint, and
No more
you're
stroke.
you're not the one with the gun.
Yeah.
So I was doing anything to protect my ego and also like not let my dream die. So I had this connection with this dude. His name is Corey Sturkey, Bones the Goat. He owns a barbershop in like close to like Miami. It's in West Palm Beach, Florida.
Oh, is this when you went to Florida?
Yeah, and this was like 6 months after Barber Versus. I was acting erratically at this age too. Like I was smoking way too much pot not making the right decisions, like just constantly like clouded, and making decisions based off from how I felt in the very moment and not what the long run was going to be.
Anything that would make you feel good right now.
Exactly. And I was like, okay, I've tried stuff. I went and did a competition in Philly. I lost it after I did the Barber versus one. I was like, what the fuck, dude? I won Barber versus, but I can't win this Philly competition. I thought the next thing for me was, all right, you're going to go to these shows and just win a bunch of them till you get
Dominate them
noticed.
all, right?
And then I lost, and I realized there's politics involved, things way above trophies that I can't control if I reach, and that shit discouraged my heart even more. And I'm like, what the fuck do I do? So Bones was the guy who got me on Barber versus. He saw my work, and he loved my video that I did, and he told me he was going to help me out on my journey. I asked him if he would what he thought about me working there. He thought it was a crazy idea, but a dope idea. We decided to do it. I thought going there, I was going to get noticed, being in a bigger area. Working.
So you left your barbershop in upstate New York and just sent it to Florida.
Yeah, and I had to tie up like a lot of loose ends. Like I got a great staff, so shout out to the lounge. I gotta light one up. This is
Light
heavy.
it up, bud.
This is heavy. So yeah, shout out to the lounge, bro. They really held shit down when I was in Florida.
So basically, he got up and left. He left his lounge back here, but you still owned it, right? Like you.
Yeah, I still owned it. So the goal was, I don't want to stay in New York, and I still don't want to. Okay, like just plans have like severely changed, and I'm happy you can chop this up because I know I'm taking a long time to tell.
Oh, you're
and
good.
I know
Send
but
it.
like I don't want to leave anything out. So
Yeah. Say it from the heart, bud.
But yeah. So let's fast forward. You know, we were in August. We won Barber versus. Now we're sitting here. It's December of the same year in 2021, and I'm like. I'm really lost, and on the outside, keeping this ego up, this monster that I created, like to hide my true self, like the true inner child. Yeah, the Geno Brancati hair. He's been running the show, all right, for like the last 4 years, and he got us really far. He got us to places that I didn't think I'd get. So making decisions through Geno Brancati hair and not through my true being, I jump on the opportunity to go to Florida.
That's his Instagram for his barber.
Yeah, and I just use it as like, I believe we all have many forms that we tap into. You have to be many people at once in order to fit into different situations and adapt to your surroundings in life. And it's just necessary that people, a lot of people shield their trauma. So like, you know, I've been through a lot in my life. We've talked in these last episodes about like anxiety and depression and stuff. And the biggest thing always rooted from me being a perfectionist and the fear of failure and like people not thinking like if I'm not God and I'm just as normal as the next man, then really what is my significance?
Sure.
And that's kind of like a narcissistic way of thinking, but I wouldn't consider myself a narcissism because I've always been like a really compassionate person to like society and to people. But that's how I treated myself and looked at myself. So I make this move to Florida, okay, to go work for this guy who I'm going to mentor under and work at his shop. The plan that I told my boys, I'm spending 3 months down there. I'm working from March to June. I'm going to build up a little bit of a clientele. I'm going to see how it is. I'm going to come back for the summer, tie things up, and if it goes well, I'm coming back. I'm going back down there. I'm going back down there permanently for the winters and back up here for the summers. I'll hire a shop manager, and someone will get a discounted rate. We'll see who steps up to the plate while I'm gone.
Oh, yeah, and support for the Garage Boozing Podcast. It is brought to you by Manscaped. Manscaped will help you trim up the family jewels to make everything nice and right for the ladies. Make sure that you're using promo code TGBP20 for 20% off your Manscaped products. Oh, yeah!
Life is much bigger than the character that you and I are playing right now.
Sure.
If that makes sense.
Totally.
Where do I keep going from here? So, you know, I'm in Florida. I get down there. I'm working for Bones. It's dope. I love it. I think it's a place I could live. I'm wide-eyed. I'm at the beach every day after work on my days off.
Must be nice.
Me and my wife are like on our honeymoon. It's just us down there. It's a great time for us to grow and just be like a couple. And like I've always hung out with my friends so much. It was a time for us to just be us and just like it was big for me for like my relationship. This sounds crazy because it was like the longest I spent one-on-one with my wife, and it like proved to me like, wow, dude, like she is like the person I can be with anywhere at all times. I love her. So it grew us in that way. So we're there, and 2 weeks in, I'm not making much money. I feel very sad because I don't feel creatively inspired. I realized that a big part of my purpose comes from being the leader, being the boss, and I was the lowest man on the totem pole at this shop.
You didn't have people coming in like Geno.
No,
Geno.
I was making like $100
like
a
you
day
do
if I
here.
was
Here,
lucky.
people are like Geno.
Yeah, you know, like at home, I was making more at home a day or in a day and a half than I was making a week where I was at. I did not have enough saved up. I went down there solely on a spiritual journey, not knowing I was on a spiritual journey, thinking that it was to blow up and have all these dreams come true, just to find out that my dream really resided back here. And the way I found out this was in like so many multitude of ways that the signs were undeniable. I was working for him, and like I said, everything was great. But the money wasn't there, and I was stressed, and my wife was stressed, and she's a realist, and she's like, you know, we got a house at home, you know, the real estate here is insane. We don't have a place. You're not making money. Like all my clients for my videography are back home. Like, you know, is this the right move? And I don't know what to do, and I'm feeling lost. So I just say, you know what? Fuck it. I'm gonna go to a psychic.
Oh shit. Okay.
This is a crazy story. So I say, you know what? I'm gonna go to a psychic.
Yo, psychics are nuts. I've been to a psychic, and that shit, I was like, wow.
So this is crazy right here. So if anybody who ever wants to listen, now's the time. I believe psychics can be a full-blown hoax. Say you go to like this or say you call up this place in Lake George or your local spot, and you're like, hey, my name's Chase, I want to come in. Dude, they can look you up on Facebook, see half of your backgrounds.
Of course.
But okay, I'm in Florida, bro. I'm 24 hours away from where I live. I don't know this person at all. I look up online as I'm sitting out on my back porch smoking, looking at that mermaid mural, and I'm like, what do I do, Uncle Andy? What do I do? You know, I just need a sign. What do I do? Something in me just said, go get a reading. And I got one reading before, and I was on a vacation, and it was very influential to me. Excuse me, and the psychic was spot on. So I was like, you know what? I'm not going to make an appointment. I'm just going to go to this place. It's 9:30 at night. It's 0.2 miles from my Airbnb. I drive there. I pull up. It's a house. I'm like, what the fuck? This is like super weird, like a house. But it says psychic readings on the outside. So I'm like, all right, this is the right joint. So I pull in, and I'm like, the sign's still on, but like, I shouldn't do it. You know, I no, it's late. That's rude. And then my soul is just telling me, Geno, you got to go knock on that door. You got to go knock on that door, man. So I was like, fuck it. Okay. I get out the car. I'm nervous. I'm like, literally palms are sweating, but also like shaking, shivering. Cause like, I'm just like nervous, man. And I knock on the door, and these 5 little, like beautiful little like Indian girls come up and start like hugging my legs. And they're like, hi. And I'm like, what the fuck? Am I at the right place? And then I see a front desk in the office, and this lady comes around the corner in her bathrobe, and her hair is all wet. She's like, oh my God. And I'm like, oh, I'm so sorry. And she's like, oh my God, are you here for a psychic reading? And I'm like, yeah. She's like, I'm closed right now. And I'm like, I'm sorry, I can come back another time. She's like, hold on. She like takes a good look at me for a second. She goes, stay outside. I'll set up a picnic chair. You know, I got my kids in here. We'll have to do it out front. And I'm like, all right, thank you so much for taking me. So I sit out front and I wait. There's just like a small drizzle. It's a little cold out on like a Florida night. And I had this necklace on right here that I got from a very special person before I left for my journey for Florida. She gave it to me, and she told me that she wanted to protect me. The psychic said to me, she said, you know, the only reason why I'm taking you right now is because I've been watching The Sopranos for the last 5 days. And I'm on the episode right now where Tony is being guided around the city by his uncle. She said, I saw that horn on your necklace. This is Italian horn. So she said, I knew that I'm supposed to talk to you tonight for a reason. Sit down.
I got chills.
Yeah, yeah. So I instantly was like, this is gonna be monumental tonight. So this lady's an old OG, man. She's smoking like 4 cigarettes, chain smoking.
Oh, yeah,
She's like,
honey.
shuffle up the cards, touch all of them, think about everything, get your spirituality on them. I got to smoke these cigarettes and get ready. So I'm shuffling them all up, bro. And after like 5 minutes of her chain smoking, I'm about secondhand coughing out. She flips them over, bro, and she gets basically off her tarot card reading. And again, she doesn't know my name until she asks right there. She doesn't know where I'm from, dude. She doesn't know anything about me and my life, other than just looking at me. And based off the cards, she said, I can tell you're not from here, that you make money using your hands. You're a creative human being, that you're on a journey that you can't stop looking backwards from, and that you have a woman crying on you. And I was like, wow. At first, this didn't resonate at all, other than like the first two, like, okay, you work with your hands. I thought maybe she saw like the tattoos, thought I was like a creative type person. I didn't have my hands all tattooed yet at this point, but like I had other visible ones. So I'm like, I don't know, maybe that's what it's from. But so she says all that, and I'm like, okay, like the woman crying thing is weird. I'm married. That doesn't make sense. And like, this is where I want to be. What do you mean? Like, I'm looking back. So she flips over some more cards, and, she says, someone guided you here tonight. She told me, I was guided to her doorstep. And that's when I told her about the passing of my uncle, and it all connected with her watching The Sopranos. She said, I believe he guided you here tonight. She said the woman crying on you is not women that want to be with you. It's not like you have these women out here that are like, oh, I want you, Geno. It's your lover. Your lover is crying on you. She needs you to be the person that she needs you to be. She's been waiting for it for a long time, and she'll wait, and she won't leave you. But if you don't do it, you're failing her and you're failing yourself, and you're continuing to be selfish.
Damn.
And she said, secondly, she said there's 2 women crying on me. And at the time, my mother and I, my mom and I, we've always been really close. Never really went without like speaking and stuff. And, we weren't speaking for a long time. We made up like right before I left, but I felt like it was like a makeup just because I was gone. So I figured it was because of that. And I think partially it was, but it ties into, she said, this card right here shows a man looking back over his shoulder, but look at what's in front of it. And it showed a beach with a seagull and a pier. But the guy wasn't looking at the view.
He was looking behind him.
He's looking behind him. And that's why she said, you're not from here. I know you're not from here. You can't stop looking back. She said, you have something special where you're from. She told me, if you stay where you're at, you will clash heads with the leader of the clan there, because you are a leader, in that you have this beautiful view in front of you and all these things, but you can't even see the beauty because you're so focused on what's behind you, even if you don't know it. And then she told me, I hope the woman that's crying on you and waiting for you is someone that you're with, like, and serious with, because you're going to have a kid within the next year.
She said that.
Yeah. And I was like, what? Like, I said, like, you mean, I said, it's my wife.
Now we're coming full circle.
Yeah. And I'm like, it's my wife. So yeah, like, it's the right person. But I'm like, do you mean she's going to get pregnant within the year? Or like, I'm going to have a baby? She's like, oh no, honey, like, you're going to have a baby within this year. And I'm like, what the fuck? Like this is crazy. The rest of the reading was really spot on, and I got 3 questions at the end. One of them I asked, do you think I'm going to live a long, healthy life? She said, yes, with regular doctor checkups, because I always worry about my health, so that was when I had to ask. Secondly, I said, you said I'm going to have a child. I have to ask, is it a boy? And she closed her eyes like she saw him, smiled with the biggest, most genuine grin, and said 1,000% yes. And then the third question is probably irrelevant, but I went back and took that information to my wife. We were like, wow, that's pretty crazy. Like, we haven't been trying. Like, I don't know. And then she's like, I'm not going to lie. I have been like crampy lately. And I was like, oh, whatever. A couple days go by. She's like, I still haven't got my period. So, I get her a test. And then that's when we find out, oh, wow, like she is pregnant. Like, and that's when it confirmed to me, like everything that this woman told me was true. Like I am a leader. I'm not somebody that coattails off somebody else's success. So I went there for the wrong reasons. I went there to have Bones make me into somebody that I wanted to be. But really, I know that my being and Geno Brancati is going to bring me to where I'm supposed to be. That I already had all this at home. I had everything he had at home. And I missed that. And I missed that connection.
But all the attention and stuff just had you like, boom, like, wow.
Yeah. So it had me realizing that I was chasing the wrong thing. So was it this amazing thing? All right, now I find out I'm having a kid.
So before you thought that like you on Barber Versus was that thing. You thought that was like what you thought that calling was essentially. But now you're finding out that maybe it was the fact that you're about to be a dad, bro.
Okay, 1,000%. And that's the initial feeling. So you asked me, you asked, I don't know if it was off the air or not. You're like, were you like, oh, fuck, when you found out she was pregnant?
Yeah, that was on the air.
Absolutely not. When it happened, dude, my soul knew it was right, bro. After I saw that psychic, I started to get way more spiritual. I started to like meditate in the mornings, go out and express my morning gratitude, really focus on my soul growth. To me, it proved there is something else other than this, okay? There's no way this woman knew all this.
No shot.
You know what I'm saying? Like, there's something else, all right? And after all the signs I was getting from my uncle and whatnot, and the story about the Sopranos and whatnot, like, I know for a fact he's with me every step of the way, even when I can't notice it or feel it. So I wanted to be very aware and conscious of it. So I started to go out and like pray, meditate, just be one with everything. I started to have cardinals follow me everywhere. Started to wonder if I was insane, if they've always been there and I just hadn't noticed. And I started to, the signs were amazing. They brought me to tears sometimes. I was on a spiritual journey after that. I came home and I was like, that's where I said I was bipolar. I was 50-50. Like half of me was like shedding my ego. It was like, I'm not. I hired a life coach. Shout out Chris Mazzara. Guy changed my life. He's from Miami Beach. Was an understudy at Tony Robbins. Now owns his own company. I've been working with him for a little over a year now, and the work that we've done together is insane. This guy's a mastermind, and Bones also introduced me to him. So like, shout out to Bones to go to. I'm not sure if he'll see this, but he's changed my life in a lot of ways, and I feel guilty for the way that I tried to use him for my success in any way. So I guess to say that on the air gets it off from my conscience, whether it's on there or not.
So real quick backtrack. So like you talked to the psychic and stuff, and then like what happened when you were at the point where like you're like, I'm packing it up from Florida and I'm sending it home?
I mean, we find out and we're crying, we're happy.
So you find out that she's pregnant and then you come home.
I mean, essentially, we still had 3 months rented at this place, so we're like trying to figure it out. We ended up talking to the guy at the Airbnb, and he said, I'll let you pay for the first quarterly, but like, I can't reimburse you, or I can't reimburse you for the first quarterly, but I can reimburse you for the time that you haven't been there. It kind of sucks for me, but I understand she's pregnant. So
nice guy.
That gave us like 17 more days there. Because it was like a month and a half that we had rented for the first quarter. So that was amazing. We got 17 days to just kind of like chill and be like take in the fact that she was pregnant. We couldn't tell anyone because we wanted to tell everyone in person. And I had to decide, I knew I was supposed to come home, but it was a lot of accepting. But yeah, we made the decision. We came home.
Well, probably a lot of it too was like, I just told everybody I'm moving down to Florida, and now it's
embarrassing.
I didn't want to put it that way, because I wasn't in those shoes, so like obviously it wasn't embarrassing for me. But I get that totally 100% where you're coming from, because like you're telling everyone, I'm making this big move to Florida, and then like what was it, a month and a half, whatever, a couple weeks.
Yeah, bro, like 40 days.
Yeah. So then, like, you got to deal with the fact that she's pregnant. And then two, like, fuck, now I got to pack it up and go home. And, like, I just told everybody I'm going to Florida. So that's a big pill to swallow, bro. Like, oh, I get that, man. Like, that probably sucked.
Dude, so those two things are two tough things, which one of them's like a big blessing, and it's like, oh my God, yes, I'm about to have a kid. To me, it felt like the sign was he was the missing link, okay? Like,
That was the thing. That was
Yeah.
the thing from before, man.
like I didn't realize it yet, but what happens when all your dreams come true and you still feel empty? You know? Like everything you ever wanted, you've been working a long time for this. And then it all happens and you're still left sitting there like, well, I'm still not genuinely like at peace and happy with myself. You start to ask yourself, was this really what I was chasing? Or was I chasing the wrong thing? Like, is that really like what my soul was after, or was my soul after something totally different? And I think the answer is pretty clear, but the ego is such a strong thing. The ego is your
Ego's
mind.
so strong, man. I'm with you.
Yeah,
I've been there.
To anyone listening, if you're not familiar with the ego is your mind. Your mind needs to survive at all times as a constant state for survival. That's why it's a great problem solver. It'll constantly solve problems because that's what it was generated to do. It's a computer, but unfortunately, most of us, make decisions based off from the left side of our brain, which is the thinking side, instead of like the spiritual, like natural side, which is our right side.
And like the shitty thing is too, is like this day and age too, like everybody wants to be known. Everybody wants to be out there too. So like, I get that, man. I've been there too. So like exactly what you just said, like you're telling everybody, oh, I'm going to Florida. And then a couple weeks later, you're like, oh, I'm coming home. And you're like, to you, you're like, I'm embarrassed. But is anyone else thinking like, oh, ha ha ha, Geno? Probably not, really. Like literally probably not, but you're thinking that they are, which that puts some weight on your fucking shoulders,
Which is also like a form of like, I don't want to say narcissism, but in a way, it's like you're blowing yourself up to be so much bigger than you actually are. It's like there's so many people on this earth, and this is like a little like dot on the fishing rod of the world, and it's
For
like,
sure.
like who the fuck am I? But like when your ego's built up so strong, like I said, I created this character of Geno Brancati hair because in high school, like my whole life, bro, a lot of it comes back to like my childhood and how I grew up. Like I grew up with amazing parents. They made me believe I could do and was capable of absolutely anything, which was a great thing, but it fed to like the self-confidence and belief and like the want to be something extravagant more than a simple man inside me. And then the fact that I was a big fish in a small pond in this area and was good at sports and constantly had my ego stroked by my parents and in newspapers, etc.
In newspapers, he says.
Yeah,
It's like, yeah, I was on the Post-Star.
which, like, in all reality, doesn't mean fucking shit. But at the time, in my narrow mind frame of this small universe I was living in, I was the absolute shit.
Especially in our area, you're in the Post-Star, you're like, holy shit.
Yeah, I had this idea
our
built
local
up of
newspaper.
myself, and I constantly was on that chase for admiration. And I thought that was like my purpose. Like, oh, I need to like make people happy. I need to like constantly achieve things that makes me happy. Like I need to be the best. And I kept like trying to do that because that's what I was at sports. And then once sports were over, I found cutting hair and I grinded my ass off. And then I finally found it in cutting hair. And then I achieved it in that. And then it was kind of like, well, is this really what makes me happy? Because I'm not fucking happy right now, you know? And if anything, this shit is not even fun anymore. Because before I used to just go to work with no pressure and be like, man, I hope I lay down a sick cut today so I can cut and shoot it and throw it up and then maybe I'll get noticed. And I get so excited and I post it and wait for the likes to come and whatnot before. And then now after it's like, do I post this? And now I'm just waiting to make sure there's a certain amount on there. And if not, I'm like, should I delete this or not? And should I post this?
Oh,
and
there's not enough likes, delete it.
Yeah,
hide
and
the
it's
likes.
like, I'm like, dude,
Like,
what
why the fuck are we doing that?
everything that was fun became fucking
Work.
a job, an
Yeah,
absolute
work.
job. And I'm realizing all this stuff, and it took a while, bro.
I got a lighter if you need. All right.
I think it finally worked. So, I feel like I'm taking forever. I'm sorry.
No, I
Cheers.
love it, dude. Like, I love the real shit, man. Be real.
So, I get back, and at first, I'm like, this is it. This is what it is. And then the newness, everything that's new gets old, bro. That's the biggest fucking thing in the world. I don't give a fuck how monumental it is. Some shit might last longer, but if you don't find something else to fuel your fire, awaken your inner fire, then you're going to be fucking upset, miserable, bored, and not like your life. And that's just the key to things. Like, sure, at first I'm like, oh, my son's my focus. Then I came home and shit got tough, bro. My wife got moody because her hormones are going fucking crazy. I got all these bills to pay. So I realize like I said, I'm not ready for this, et cetera, et cetera. So what do? I act like a little bitch. I start going out and partying. I basically put my legs, my tail between my legs and put my ass up in the air and say, let life fuck me in a way. That's what I was doing.
I'll deal with it later.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I was doing. I hire this life coach. I'm paying him $350 a month and not even fucking really use his tools and whatnot. And I'm just acting like a fool, going out, getting in fights, partying. When I have this legacy to build, like, when I think of myself last summer, I cringe. So, but it was all anger, bro. Like anger from like the industry not giving me the love that I wanted and me not getting the love from the sports that I wanted in the beginning. Like I never was good enough for myself. And that's what I realized. Like I never was good enough for Geno. And until I'm good enough for me, bro, and I'm going to continue to be this person who goes through these like ups and downs where, okay, this feels good. I'm accomplishing something. And then I accomplished it. And then it's like, okay, it's starting to go down. You haven't done anything yet. And now I feel this pressure to do something again. And until I'm just like, find what truly is my purpose on this earth, I'm not going to be happy, And it took a lot of like figuring out for that. I didn't really start to realize this until like 3 months ago, bro. Like, and that's the thing. Life's a constant growth. I'll probably look back at where I'm at right now in a year and probably cringe, and that's a good thing because that means
great thing.
Yeah,
that's fucking growth.
It means
right
I grew even more.
Yeah, exactly.
But to speed things up, I got back from Florida. I had all this shit happen, and then my son finally comes. I start to secure these sponsorships when I come home, and I'm working with this company who I'm with now that has changed my life. The Slicker. I've been with them from the beginning. They're the chest piece that we use in the anti-hair stick thing. They help me travel across the country to cut hair, and I educate with them. And I have a genuine relationship with these guys who help me grow and are organic, amazing dudes. And their brand that I'm lucky to be a part of is blowing up in our industry, and that helped me be at peace. But that aside, they brought me on these trips that have opened up my eyes to realize everything that I've been wanting has been me all along. Like I am the wind. Like I've been waiting for all this to happen, but the whole time it was here. I've had all the tools. They're here in front of me, and now I'm starting to discover that I have them. So
you thought you wanted and needed more, but it was right in front of you the entire time.
Exactly. And that's the chase of perfection and the society we live in of comparison. Like, oh, I have to be like him. I have to be like that. Well, you know what?
You don't.
I have to be like me.
Exactly. Yes. Yes.
And you have to be like who your being is, but also who. Because this is the thing that I say, bro, is Geno Brancati is a fictional character. Like I'm not really real. I got born and my parents came up with a name. That doesn't mean that's my name. Okay. I got told that I'm a barber and I was this or that, but that doesn't mean that's who I am. I'm a spiritual being having a human experience.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's when I started to wake up. And I realized that right around the new year of this year in 2023. I did a lot of deep inner work, and I was in a state of like enlightenment for like 2-3 months. Everything was like so perfect. I'm like, things are starting to happen. I'm starting to get sponsorships, etc. But my focus still was like, I need something more. And I got this sponsorship with a clipper company, which is like the biggest one I've had yet. They got the most followers. It's a clipper company. Oh my God. Meanwhile, I've already had Slicker and Booksy and nameless other ones that I'm essentially taking for granted, if you ask me. I already have these sponsorships, but I'm like, I need the next big one. I need the next big one. So I'm feeling spirit, okay? Now, when I say spirit, that's whether that's your God, whether it's Jesus for you, whether it's Allah, I don't really care.
Whoever it is.
Whoever it is. For me, Geno Brancati, I believe that I'm God. I believe that Chase is God. That we all are pieces of God. We're all made up of the same thing. And we're here to learn because, again, we are a spiritual being in a human body. We're here to have physical human experiences to take back to our true home after and say, hey, what did we learn from this? And it's up to you whether you wake up in this shithole again or not. For me, this could very well be purgatory, whatever you want to call it. But this is not transcendence. There's definitely something bigger and better than this.
Has to be.
And you know how I know that for a fact is because I know it's inside of me. And when I meditate, I go to that place. When I pray, when I'm spiritually moved, when I'm creatively moved, when I feel love now, and like now that I'm spiritually awoken, I notice these things that make me appreciate life so much more. And life's really about gratitude, like being grateful for where you are. And I posted something on my story today that I feel like if there's any advice that you could take from this whole podcast, it's simple, but it's the biggest one, is your life is only as good as your perspective on your current situation.
Deep.
I mean, think about it.
No, yeah.
There's some people that are homeless, living in a tent in a city somewhere, that are happier than millionaires living in mansions with everything that they want.
Yeah.
And that solely comes down to perspective. And perspective is determined off from your gratitude. How much gratitude do you have for your life, for your relationships, for where you are? And sometimes on your weakest days, the biggest gratitude you're going to have is like, man, I'm just grateful for this breath right now. Sometimes you got to tell yourself that, like, dude, I'm just grateful that I'm breathing right now. Because that's where I got to, because I inflated myself again. I'm like, oh my God. So I got this sponsorship with Stylecraft Pro, and my mind was all back in the ego state again. And that's why God humbled me. I know it's why. And it's why I'm here tonight to realize it. It comes full circle. My mind's off from Slicker. It's off from all these other things. Oh my God, I got Stylecraft Pro, the next big thing. And 3 days after that, God humbled me, man. Like, I've always dealt with like hypochondria and like worried about like health stuff being wrong with me. And
I always freak out about my health, especially because I'm going to be 30 this year. So I'm going to be 30 in November.
Shit's rough.
Yeah, now I'm like, oh, fuck. Now I got to stop drinking and shit. My liver's going to die.
You got that good lighter, by the way.
Yeah.
Dude, I feel you 1,000% on that. And
Bro, I freak out about everything health-wise. Like, every time I go to a doctor's appointment, I go every 6 months for a checkup. And
Smart,
like,
though.
So, like, most people go every year, but I'm just set up every 6 months because I'm such a fucking, like, I freak out about everything.
It's the best thing you can do, though.
And I'm just like, yo, like, tell me what's up. And like, oh, you're good and healthy. I'm like, all right, but what's wrong? No, you're good and healthy. And I'm like, all right, cool, but, like, tell me the bad news.
So, yeah, I agree, man. I've always been this way, and that's from childhood trauma of, like, an accident that happened to me. So, yeah, I've always felt like destined, like, oh, my God, something bad's going to happen to me young. So I was in this ego state again. I got this spiritual enlightenment where with working with, like, my life coach and doing, like, a lot of, like, reading a spiritual or, like, personal self-growth book is like the biggest thing that you can do for yourself if you want to start getting on the right track. Like getting on the right track, you're literally one action away. Like you could be doing the wrong things for 2 years straight, and as soon as you make the right decision once, you're on that road. You know what I'm saying? Like you're on that road. You're going to come to a stop sign and you're going to have to go either left or right or straight, and you're going to know what the decision is, and it's up to you again, but you're on the path finally again. It's literally one decision away. So, you know, I started reading these books and working with my life coach. He told me a lot of stories, and through my meditations, I just realized, man, I really am a spirit in this fucking physical body. This is crazy. Like my whole life I've lived based off from Geno Brancati. I thought I was handsome. I thought I was cool, funny.
You're pretty handsome.
Thank you, bro. So are you.
Thanks, dude.
You know, my parents made me feel that way. My peers made me feel that way. I'm talented. That's all I ever knew. But you know what you do when you feel that way? You're so fucking afraid to lose it. You know, you're like, oh my God, dude, what if one day I'm not?
What if I wake up and I'm ugly?
What if I wake up and I'm fucking ugly? What if I wake up and I just suck at what I'm doing again? What if I get too old? What if I get fat? And then you start feeling all these pressures. And that's how you know you're living like strictly through your ego.
Right, totally, man. Exactly.
And I started to realize, okay, I'm shedding this, but yeah, I'm still chasing the wrong thing. So I get this sponsorship, and then God strikes me with, or Spirit strikes me, excuse me, with this little health scare. I started to get this like heart rhythm thing that I had to. Damn.
Yeah, they make you burp. I know it's the
White
Claws.
Claw surgery got me burping. But yeah, bro.
So you got a health scare.
Yeah, bro. My heart rate was up to like 150 beats per minute and shit. I quit smoking weed. I was praying. I started to get really religious. I started to like follow like the Catholic or the Christian religion. And when you pray in the Christian or the Christian religion, you pray to Jesus. And when I did that, I noticed a lot of good things happen. Something kind of fell off, if I'm being real. And I don't mean to offend anyone by this,
No,
but this is
send
just
it. Yeah.
this is just my personal story. With
Be
it.
real, man.
So
We're all open here in the garage.
so it's January to about March time, and I've been going to church. 2 out of 4 weekends, I've been praying to God, reading the Bible, etc.
I will say, church feels great. Like when you're there, like
I think it definitely does, and I'm gonna touch back. Don't let me forget as to why church feels great.
all right.
But I have to touch into what we're touching about here. So I'm going to church, I'm doing all these things. I realize I'm a spirit in this human body. I'm living in what I would consider peace on earth. It felt great, bro. I was like, I finally am at peace. I finally, like, yes. I got things figured out. Like, life feels good. I'm going to the gym again. I love my son so much. I have had this connection with him that I wanted so bad for so many months in the beginning that I felt guilty that I didn't have, that I finally have now. My relationship has gotten better with my wife. I'm making great money at work, and I'm just like, I'm seeing all these things happen, these accomplishments. Life feels great, and I started to wake up with this anxiety I felt like in my chest. And I was like, okay, I'm going to meditate. Even through meditation, didn't go down. I was like, okay, this is weird. I'm going to smoke a blunt. So I smoke. Okay, this doesn't go down. I'm like, okay, this is weird. And let me mind you, I quit smoking weed for maybe 7 days leading up to this. And I haven't stopped smoking weed, Chase, in 7 years. I smoked weed every day for 7 years straight.
Damn.
And I couldn't quit. And then, because this is not me this is just my honest take on religion. I was going to the Christian church, and they said, pray to Jesus. Ask him to suffer with you. He'll suffer with you. He suffered on the cross for our sins. If you ask him to suffer with you, he will. So I had a night where I was by myself up late, really good spiritual night, and I was praying, and I felt really connected, and I said, Jesus, if you can just help me quit smoking weed, I promise I won't let you down. Please suffer with me through this. And I felt like that's what was holding me back in my life. I was like, this is the thing. This is I've accomplished everything else. This must be it. I'm just abusing pot, and I need to stop doing this. So I'm like, Jesus, please, if you help me in this, I won't let you down. I can't lie, bro. Did I have a little bit of cravings after that? For sure. But the weight that was lifted off my shoulder was immense, dude. Whether it was Jesus Christ, whether it was a spirit guide, whether it was just a placebo in the brain, it was easy for me to not smoke. I was focused on growing myself. And then about 6 to 10 days into it, after a workout I had, I finally losing weight too. I'm in a good place. Everything is clicking right now, Chase. I'm like, man, this is perfect. Life is going perfect. I get hit with that brick wall. I wake up, dude, and I had the anxiety in my chest. I'm like, what the fuck, bro? This is fucking weird. All right, I'm gonna do meditation. Okay, that's not working. All right, I'll go shovel the driveway. We got a snowstorm. I got a day off from work. Just gonna relax with my wife and remind myself what I'm grateful of. Let's go do this. All right. It's still there. I'm checking my heart rate. I'm sitting down. My heart rate's at 120. When I stand up, it's at 150. I feel like I'm having a heart attack.
Jesus Christ, bro.
So I go and have, I don't know if this is supposed to go on there, but I go and get myself an anxiety medicine. All right. So I'm like, all right, bro, I'm having a fucking panic attack, bro. So I take a Klonopin. And I'm like, all right, this shit should calm me down, right? You know, it's basically like a Xanax.
Do you want that on or off?
I don't know. I don't really care because I'm not afraid of.
If you're telling your truth, bro,
yeah,
tell
I'm
your
telling
truth.
my truth.
Yeah, tell your truth.
So, so I take a Xanax and I'm like, all right, this should calm me down. I'm laying on the couch. I start to feel peace in my mind, but my heart is still racing like a motherfucker, dude. And I'm like, what the fuck is going on? I'm checking it.
And that freaks you out more.
Still going. So I call my doctor instantly and I'm like, all right, man, I need an appointment. It takes 2 days to get me in. The way that I think, bro, being a hypochondriac, I'm instantly, as soon as that happens, I'm like, oh my God, dude, there's something wrong with me. Something wrong with me. So
And that lasted a whole 2 days because you couldn't get it for
so
2
I'm
days.
freaking out. So I'm in a state, I switched from that state of being into spiritual being back into ego. The ego is afraid to die.
Yeah.
The spirit's not. So I switched right out of what I was supposed to be in, where I should have sat there in meditation and prayer and just said, listen, everything's going to work out. It's going to be fine. I didn't feel enough faith in it. I didn't believe in it enough yet. And I let my ego take over and I started booking all these doctor's appointments, trying to figure out what the fuck is wrong with me. I get an EKG, nothing's wrong. They set me up with a 24-hour Holter monitor strapped on me, nothing's wrong. They hit me with a tilt table test, nothing's wrong, but my heart rate's still up. After a week, they put me on a beta blocker so that my heart rate goes down. It works. Now I can stand up and actually do my job. But for a week, I'm sitting there thinking, dude, am I even going to be a barber anymore? I'm rethinking all these thoughts, you know. A week doesn't sound like much, but it's a fucking long time when you're spending 24 hours in your head.
Oh, yeah.
It's not a long time when you're enjoying your life. A week goes by fast.
Right.
It's
But when
much
you're-
different.
When you're freaking out, like
When you're planning your
minutes or
funeral.
hours. Minutes or hours.
When you're planning your funeral, bro, it goes by. A minute feels like an hour. So, you know, I was napping just to get through my days, etc. Meanwhile, with my job, bro, I can't explain to you how exhausting it is to have mental health issues and be a barber, man. And that's why if I'm closed off to anyone, any of my clients listen to this, this is a big, like, an apology and maybe some closure as to why. I deal with a constant racing hamster wheel on the back of my head. And I go to work, and I got to be this happy, cheery, go-lucky person talking to my clients who I love about their lives and in my life and in connecting with them. Meanwhile, giving them this precise service, focusing on these small details throughout the hair all day long. I charge a lot of money. I charge, $60 with the beard, $50 for the hair. This haircut has to be fucking flawless every time. There's no room for error. 10 haircuts a day, focusing on it from 10 to 6 o'clock. That's mentally exhausting. I can't explain it any other way than that is mentally exhausting if you're not in the right mind frame. If
I can
you
only
if you're
imagine.
in survival mode, that is not the place you want to be at. So I pulled away from my work again, pulled away from my relationships, my wife, because every time I got close to my son, I thought, well, what if I die and I'm not close to him? That's all I could think when I saw him. Same thing with my wife. I'm going through all these tests, I'm not figuring out what's going on. My heart rate's still going on like this. Got to the point where I spent like 2 months like that, and I was like kind of convinced, like, man, for all the bad you've done in your life, God, I was mad at God. I started to sit there and say, why the fuck did you show me peace and tranquility to take this away from me?
Resenting in a way.
Dude, yeah, I had to have a conversation with him and say, what the fuck's going on?
What's up?
I was praying to my Uncle Andy like, yo, dude, you were with me the last 3 years. Because meanwhile, let me tell you, while I'm in this mind frame chase, in this energy realm that I was in, the signs are gone. I used to get signs like clockwork from my spirit guides, my uncle, from God all day long. I'd pray, say, Uncle Andy, give me a sign. A cardinal would show up in my backyard. I don't care what anyone says, whether that's just coincidence or not. I've seen too much of it and too much crazy stuff to know my own journey. That shit's not a coincidence. And that shit was gone, bro, because I was so closed off to it. I was so focused on Geno Brancati and not like my soul. And that was supposed to be the sign, like, hey, trust us, we have this, we have you. You're here for a reason. We didn't bring you here to have your son and just have you like go away. Like, you have so much more living to do. You're okay. Let's go through this tough time together and lean on your faith so you can see how your faith guides you through these bad times. I stayed sober off pot for like a month and a half. And it wasn't for me, bro. And honestly, I believe that that's what caused my heart rate to go up. My body wasn't used to it. I've looked up some side effects of quitting weed, like cold turkey, and that's some of them. As soon as I started living again, bro, my life got better. After about like 2.5 months, I was forced to go to a hair show that I had committed to with Slicker. And I'm not going to let down my sponsors and stuff. So I go to it in Poughkeepsie in the first week of May. And I finally go and I get fucked up for the weekend. You know what I'm saying? Like, I've been sober for like a month and a half, 2 months, worried I'm going to die every day, going home from work, taking a nap, like non-existing. Like, life sucked, bro. So like, I'm like, you know what? This weekend I'm just going to let loose. I smoked pot for the first time, whatnot. Kind of felt great. Kind of proved to me like, well, you're not going to die if you party or whatnot. And I started to have a good time again. And then I started to notice I need to refocus more back on like my faith. So I started to get more spiritual again, and I didn't feel it at all for like the first 2 months, until about, I would say like the middle of like July.
Of this year.
Yeah. I would go out on my porch, but I was hopeful again. Like my hope again was restored. I think just by like getting out of my shell and like going and doing something and going away and realizing, okay, like regardless of what happens, you're going to be okay. And then I had another trip to the Connecticut Barber Show after that, and that was really fruitful. And then I just kind of stopped going to like the doctor's appointments because I was like, this is what I'm focused on, and it's making the situation worse. And if I focus on like the fact that I'm okay, and I am okay and believe it, I'll be all right. And I started to do that, and then, I would just like go out and meditate and pray every morning and say, God, give me one sign. Uncle Andy, give me one sign. And I swear, like, I'll believe again. I won't let you down. I'll follow through your word every time. And it took a little while, and then, I started to see the signs again through the hard inner work. And I think the biggest thing was during that time I was running from challenges and the fear of failure and critique from being a perfectionism, and not realizing that that's where like growth and the reward is in.
Absolutely.
And that's where I was having fun all along. And that being me was what made me important, that the sponsorships were important. It was the relationships that I already had. In that the most important thing is my mental and spiritual well-being. So I started to focus on that more. And now I realize I'm not defined off from my sponsorships or my accolades. My purpose is to be the best man possible, teach my son how to be a proper man and to show his emotions and show that it's okay to be emotional as a man, but also know how to control them and be masculine in the way that he can protect and carry the people around him, and show him how to like love and nurture a family. And this other stuff that I do is just like the cherry on top. Like, I'm getting to travel the world now with the US with Slicker to these different places and enjoy new experiences and be able to like show my son like, hey, I wasn't just behind the chair. Like, I did a lot of cool stuff and a lot of growing, and he's going to be old enough to see that. And I hope to bring him on that one day and show him and cut his hair at the stuff and just it's not about becoming the best version of a barber and celebrity barber. It's about becoming the best version of Geno.
It's about being you, bro.
Yeah.
And that's one thing I love telling people that are close to me, my good friends, my family, everything. Like, no matter what your relationship to me is, like, I love you for you, man. Like, I like you for you. Like, you know, what would make me really upset is like thinking I knew you and then finding out like, oh shit, that's not Geno. You know, like That's the thing. I want everybody to be real, and I fucking love that.
And I feel like we've had that consistent, like every time we've been on here, like a lot of your podcasts are funny and like, we get into like that.
And I like this right now a lot because this was fucking real.
And you know, it's like I said, like the toughest thing is I know I'm going to be faced with another challenge again.
We all are, bro.
Before, like my mindset was like perfectionism, right? Like, okay, I need to constantly not have anxiety. I need to constantly be in a good place. I need to constantly have this. And then I realized like, no, I need to find a way to like preserve my peace and my faith throughout those times and continue to walk in my life's purpose no matter the circumstances.
Absolutely.
All right, folks. Well, me and Geno talked so much that we had to split this into 2 parts. So that's all the time we have for today. This was part 1, and part 2 is coming at you next week. So I'll see you nerds next week.
Hey, nerds. Please don't forget the #1 way to support the brand. Buy some merch. We've got hats, hoodies, sweatshirts, t-shirts, and it's all available to you at www.garageboozing.net/shop. And don't forget to follow on all your favorite social media accounts as well as YouTube at Garage Boozing. And of course, don't forget to like, follow, and subscribe, whatever the button may be, to the Garage Boozing Podcast on your favorite podcast platforms so you can be notified as soon as a new episode is released.
Ladies, gentlemen, and nerds. Do you have what it takes to be a guest on the fastest growing, alcohol chugging, and nonsense talking podcast? Well, now is your chance. The Garage Boozing Podcast has new guests every week, and you could be one of them. Just simply log on to www.garageboozing.net, click the Be on the Show tab, and submit your information. It's that simple. Join the boozement, or be a loser. Don't miss your chance, because we're taking this to the moon.